Welcome, everyone, to Artivism, the Power of Art for Social Transformation. We have with us today Alison Cohen from Canada. Mr. Jeff Cohen will introduce Alison. So Jeff, take it away.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jeff Cohen. I'm the father of today's artivist, Allison Cohen. During the COVID-19 quarantine, Allison was inspired to interview people that have inspired her and influenced her. She came to me with the idea and we sat together and we planned out her goals around the concept. She gave the project a name and then we began interviewing some people and some family and friends. Fast forward to today and she has 54 guests joining her on the Inspiration Show, including some of her favorite actors, dancers, podcast hosts, and entrepreneurs. The mission of the show is to inspire others through stories and courageous efforts. Each story has an inspirational message from the individual in terms of their courage and hope. It'll leave you feeling more positive about life. It is now my pleasure and privilege to introduce you to Allison.
Hello, everyone. My name is Allison Cohen. It is my privilege to be here today. Thank you so much for having me. I am 14 years old and I am the host and creator of The Inspiration Show. The Inspiration Show is a virtual show where I interview people who have inspired me or people with inspiring stories. The mission of The Inspiration Show is to inspire others through the stories and courageous efforts of those who have inspired me. The dictionary defines inspiration as a feeling of enthusiasm you get from someone or something that gives you new and creative ideas. When I say inspiration, what comes to your mind? It could be a person, a place, a memory, a movie, or a TV show. An inspiration could be anything you want it to be. Now imagine the whole world turned upside down and you are confined to your home. Sounds kind of familiar, right? The COVID-19 pandemic hit and there was no longer a source or spark of inspiration. During quarantine, I was impacted quite a bit, but after a long reflection, I was not going to let COVID-19 stop me from being inspired. During quarantine, I felt very isolated and there wasn't very much to do. I always found happiness while watching shows such as The Ellen Show, The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, and The Late Late Show with James Corden. After spending so much time watching these interviews, I felt inspired. After hearing the story of a young man named Zach, that's when the idea of The Inspiration Show came about. I have now interviewed people such as Val Schmarakovsky from Dancing with the Stars, Bart Johnson from High School Musical, and Ilda Mason from Steven Spielberg's West Side Story. My main goal with The Inspiration Show is to inspire people, but another goal is to interview 100 inspiring people, and I have currently interviewed 54. My most recent interview was yesterday with the incredibly talented and inspiring Julie Benko. Julie is an actress who currently portrays Fanny Bryce in Funny Girl on Broadway. She is also a singer, writer, and has many albums out as well. Since I am unable to introduce you to all the 54 inspiring people who have made appearances on The Inspiration Show, I handpicked a few people. First, Val Schmarakovsky. Val is an amazingly talented dancer who has many dance accomplishments, including 2 Dancing with the Stars mirror balls. Val went from dancer to author when he released his memoir titled I'll Never Change My Name in March 2018. Second, Melissa Liam Fernandez. Melissa holds a bachelor's degree in art education and fine arts painting, and a master's degree in art education and arts administration. Melissa is an amazingly talented artist and created the Elephant Works studio. Third, Caroline Arapoglu, who is an amazingly talented actress who you may recognize from portraying the role of Rose Cameron on Outer Banks and Winnie Klein on Stranger Things. Fourth, Jess is a cultural expert, author, speaker, and podcast host. She is the host of my favorite podcast, We're All Gonna Die Anyway, and recently launched a series with Shonda Rhimes and iHeartRadio titled Dominant Stories. Besides the podcast, Jess has written 2 books and done 2 TED Talks. Jess also leads courses and workshops and recently produced and created a course called The Good Life. Fifth, Derek is an amazing and inspiring musician who has many albums and songs, and he was also the guitarist on my favorite and the hit Fox show Glee. Sixth, Lee Moore is an amazingly talented singer who is a breast cancer survivor and an author of the book Aggressive Positivity. Seventh, Houston is an amazingly talented travel photographer who teaches the amazing lesson of no matter who you are and what disability you have, we are all people that can do the same things. Eighth is Nadine Andoa. Doa is the mother of heart warrior Nadine. She shared her and her daughter Nadine's inspirational story regarding congenital heart defect and how a scene from Grey's Anatomy saved her daughter's life. Last but not least is Lily Moore. Lily is an inspiring actor and model. She is most known for portraying the role of Rebecca on the Netflix series Never Have I Ever. She also has her own initiative called HELP, which stands for Helping Everyone with Love and Passion, where she makes care bags for the homeless. It is now time to introduce you to my biggest inspiration and the reason behind the Inspiration Show, Zach Sobiech. My journey with the Inspiration Show began after watching a movie on Disney Plus called Clouds. Clouds tells the inspiring true story of Zach Sobiech. Zachary Sobiech was a singer-songwriter and musician from Minnesota. He was diagnosed with osteosarcoma, which is a type of cancer, at the age of 14. With the very little time Zach had left, he turned to music and wrote his song Clouds. Clouds was Zach's goodbye to the world, his family, and his friends. After hearing Zach's story, something changed in me. There was a spark of inspiration. Zach's story sparked my desire to create the Inspiration Show. Zach flew up to the clouds on May 20th, 2013, but his story still lives on through his friends, family, his music, and the movie Clouds. It was my great honor to have Zach's mother, Laura, be a guest on the Inspiration Show, and I will never forget the conversation that I had with her. My biggest goal in life is to inspire people, and I hope that I can inspire people the way that Zach inspired me. Zach and the Sobiech family started a fund called the Zach Sobiech Osteosarcoma Fund, which was created to raise money to find a cure for osteosarcoma and to help keep Zach's legacy alive. The Sobiech family has a very close friend named Justin Baldoni, who is also a huge inspiration of mine. When Zach was still alive, Justin made a promise to Zach, which stated that the world would know his name and hear his music. And this movie was the outcome of this promise. It is crazy to reflect on how my journey with the Inspiration Show was inspired by a promise, a movie, and an incredibly inspiring life lived by an incredibly inspiring man. I am now very excited to share with you the trailer of Clouds the movie, which is now available to watch on Disney+. Claire was a cystic fibrosis warrior. She was also an activist, public speaker, and author. Claire wrote her first book at the age of 13, titled Every Breath I Take, Surviving and Thriving with Cystic Fibrosis. Claire created Claire's Place Foundation, which is a charity providing support to individuals, children, and families affected by cystic fibrosis, and founded it at the age of 13. She envisioned this foundation as a source of hope, strength, and joy for others living with CF, providing both emotional and financial support. Claire's legacy and the foundation still lives on through her mother, Melissa Yeager, who I had the honor of interviewing on the Inspiration Show. Claire's family is also very close with Justin Baldoni, and he once had a conversation with Claire where he asked her if she ever had a boyfriend with CF. Claire responded with, "People with cystic fibrosis must be within 6 feet apart from each other at all times so they don't catch each other's bacteria." Claire inspired the movie 5 Feet Apart. They also used Claire's personality to help develop the main character of the movie, Stella, played by Haley Lou Richardson. I am now very excited to share with you the trailer of the movie 5 Feet Apart, which is available to watch on Netflix. I'm 14 years old and I live in Toronto, Canada. My biggest job in life is to learn, grow, ask questions, work hard, never give up, and listen. Also referred to as being a student. From JK until grade 4, I attended what you would call quote unquote normal school. It was a regular stream. One day, I was speaking with my older cousin about a school she graduated from, and I felt inspired. That's when I decided I was going to audition for that school called Baythorn. Some time went by, and we found out that I got accepted into the school. Leaving my old school and going to Baythorn was the best and most life-changing decision I have ever made. Baythorn is an art school, which means that you learn through the arts. Dance, drama, visual art, and music was incorporated into my learning, and it was the perfect and most enjoyable way for me to learn and retain information. The teachers at Baythorn shared the same passion that I had for the arts and changed my life. Every year, we'd put on a show based on what we were learning. The arts I enjoy the most are drama and dance. I have been dancing since I was 3 years old, and dance has always been one of my favorite things to do. Acting has always been a passion of mine. Last year, I graduated from Baythorn and am now in grade 9, continuing in the art stream studying drama. The musical Dear Evan Hansen was how I found my love for theater. There are no words to describe the impact that this musical has had on my life, and Evan's story continues to inspire me every day. I have seen it so many times, but no matter how many times I see it, it is still so meaningful, impactful, and inspiring. For the 50th episode of The Inspiration Show, I had the honor of speaking with Matteo Liscano, who portrayed the role of Evan on Broadway. I have had the privilege of speaking with so many incredible people in the industry, and I feel so inspired hearing their life stories and how they ended up where they are today. I was also very inspired by an organization called Big Back America, which inspires programs of kindness all over the world. Through Big Back America, I have had the opportunity to empower and give back to children with special needs. Big Back America is committed to connecting volunteers and recipients through their programs to learn invaluable lessons of empowerment, inclusion, and working together to give back. Big Back America has hundreds of inspiring initiatives that are all about giving back, whether it is to our friends, family, first responders, or the environment. I am now going to share 3 initiatives that Big Back America runs. First, Meals and Produce. The mission of this initiative is to help children, elderly people, and others in need of not going hungry to bed. These joint events serve up to 2,000 families, and the donation amounts to 25,000 pounds of food. More people sign up for food donations every day. Second, First Responder Meals. Big Back America inspires individuals and communities to show their appreciation by purchasing meals for first responders or essential workers. This initiative spreads kindness all over the country and encourages supporting local restaurants. Third, grocery shopping. Big Back America created a platform for volunteers to help families struggling from food insecurities. This initiative allows volunteers to react quickly by getting food to the recipient. This act of kindness is so rewarding because of the great impact it has on hungry families. Through Big Back America, I have had the opportunity to empower and give back to children with special needs through an initiative called Joggers for Juniors. I have been a part of the Joggers for Juniors team for 3 years now, and for the past year, I have been helping run the initiative. Joggers for Juniors is a program which provides a platform for children with special needs. Joggers for Juniors provides the opportunity to perform acts of kindness through creative avenues. The program has a powerful message of empowering, including, and inspiring because of the unique concept of turning the art into a give back item. Every month, we host an amazing session of being empowered by giving back through creativity. Volunteers put on an interactive show of singing, dancing, magic, and more. And sessions always end in a monthly give back. My journey with The Inspiration Show and Joggers for Juniors started 3 years ago, and both these journeys have taught me so many important life lessons, but today I would like to share 3. The first one was said to me from a young age, and my guests tend to say it on the show a lot as well. I always thought it was cheesy, but now I realize that it is true, and that is that dreams come true. If I were to have a conversation with my younger self, I would ask her what her hopes and dreams would be for her future. Now looking back on what that little girl's future has become, I would reflect on how I made my dreams come true and how I got there. The second is giving back to the community is so important. Joggers for Juniors events take place once a month for approximately an hour. For that hour of time that the Joggers for Juniors team puts in, we see how much of an impact we are making while having fun and doing activities. Not only does giving back feel good on the receiving end, but it also makes you feel good to know what an impact you made. Last but not least is to work hard, because when you work hard, you can achieve whatever you put your mind to. I started The Inspiration Show during the COVID-19 pandemic, and my goal was to bring people a source of happiness and inspiration during quarantine. I started the show by reaching out to some family and friends who I found inspiring and asked if I could interview them. As time went on, I became more confident and reached out to some of my favorite influencers, actors, and podcast hosts, and surprisingly received some responses. Now I am very grateful to say that I have spoken with some of my favorite actors, dancers, performers, podcast hosts, and entrepreneurs who have inspired me and have helped shape me into the person that I am today. I shared lots of information today on how The Inspiration Show came to be, but if there is one thing I would like you to take away from this presentation is aspire to inspire. Everyone is an inspiration in their own way. I always like to say that we are each other's inspirations. You don't need to have a podcast to inspire people. You don't need to be on Broadway to inspire people. You don't need to be famous to inspire people. The things you can do to inspire people in your everyday lives are so easy. Have a positive attitude, be confident, reach for the stars, always give 100%, a compliment can go a long way, and always be yourself. Someone wise once said, "Be yourself. You may be inspiring someone by just being you." The Inspiration Show is essentially an online interaction where myself as the interviewer asks questions and the interviewee answers them. When you think about it from that perspective, it doesn't sound very special. The guests that join me on the Inspiration Show make it special, just because they are being their true and inspiring selves. Getting to learn their stories brings me so much joy, and getting to share my story and the story of the Inspiration Show with you here today was an absolute honor. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being our artivist today, Ali. That was fantastic. For more information on this and the series past and upcoming events, please go to our website, https://www.adelphi.edu/artivism. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram at Artivism for Shared Humanity, or simply Google Artivism and Adelphi. Our YouTube channel is Artivism for Shared Humanity. If you'd like to get more information or get more involved in this ongoing initiative, please contact Artivism team at artivism@adelphi.edu. On Tuesday, October 11th, Artivism is kicking off Adelphi's Fall Arts Festival with a panel discussion from 12:15 to 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Artivism's refugee and immigration crisis, transforming mindsets and practices via the arts. The discussion will be live on campus at UC in the ballroom on the second floor, followed by an open mic from 1:45 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the event is sponsored by Artivism and Criminal Justice Clubs at Adelphi University. Both events are hybrid, in person and via Zoom. Next week at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Andrea Samantha Pulitzer will speak about how she's used creativity to drive sustainable change and educate on stereotypes around race and gender. I would like now to give you the opportunity to ask any questions of our artivists today. Please use the raise hand function on Zoom, unmute yourself, or ask any questions in the Zoom chat.
Thank you, Allison. This was so great. You are so brave. I think most young people tend to shy away from issues like that. You know, they don't want to address them. They don't want to hear about them. It's almost like these things don't happen. Any other questions or comments?
I have a question. Thank you so much, Allison. This was wonderful, so inspiring. I teared up a few times watching some of the clips. And I wonder how, if you could describe, if there's any way you could let us know how you feel your organization has inspired others. Have you seen the ripple effects in terms of how your ability to let us emote can transform and pass along to additional folks?
I think, like RG said, many children, when they watch TV, it's like the newest show on Netflix. And I mean, I do that too all the time, but getting to see a movie that was based off of a life story, like when I sat down and I watched Clouds for the first time, it wasn't just for entertainment. It really clicked that it was a life story and someone actually went through that. And, you know, getting to speak with Zach's mother, Laura, and she also wrote a book called Fly a Little Higher from her perspective of Zach's story, and getting to speak with her and getting to read her words, it's such a different perspective on the same story. So when I got to bring in my perspective on Zach's story, which, if you will, is the show, because he was really my desire to create it. So getting to share his story and keep his story alive in a different way was such a ripple effect, because I got to see all of these children who are now suffering from osteosarcoma, and how, you know, getting to see like the disease on TV, same with cystic fibrosis after 5 feet apart, and getting to see the ripple effect of how it brings more attraction to the diseases and people really get to have the knowledge for it. So getting to use my platform to be a voice for these stories that many people don't hear about. I always say that the actors that are famous that join me on the show, their stories are incredibly inspiring, but it's the stories that aren't in the spotlight. Those are the ones that are the most inspiring. Like, for example, I mentioned briefly in my presentation, I had Dr. Doa join me on the show, and her daughter suffered from congenital heart disease, and a scene from Grey's Anatomy actually saved her life. And so if Dr. Doa never watched that scene of Grey's Anatomy, would Nadine still be with us today? And now she is 3 and she's doing very well. And it was amazing to have her make a little brief appearance on the show.
Could you elaborate a little on what scene she saw on Grey's Anatomy that?
Of course, yeah. So it was, if you have seen Grey's Anatomy, it's Dr. DeLuca and Dr. Robbins doing a surgery in utero. She went to a bunch of doctors and they all said that there is nothing that they can do to save her daughter until she is born. And she recalled this scene from Grey's Anatomy one night and she brought it to a doctor and said, I know it's a long shot, but can you do this? And a doctor halfway across the world said, we can attempt the surgery. I can save your daughter. And it did.
Wow.
Any other questions or comments?
I would say thank you for being here. To also our student ambassador today, he did a wonderful job this year for him as well.
Thank you.
Excellent. Yes, definitely. My I don't know if it's kind of like a common question. It would be like, what would you say? I know you touched upon it on your presentation, right? But for someone that would like to start something similar to what you started, right? That was inspired by something and wants to get it to the next level, like Stephanie was saying, right? And she was saying, what are the ripple effects of this inspiration? How would you say those people can get it going?
For me, it was a really big lesson that I learned when I started interviewing more. It is never be afraid to reach out. The worst thing that someone can say to you is no, or I'm sorry, we're busy. And I knew I wanted to have Laura on the show. So I reached out to her and she responded and we made it happen. And I've reached out to so many of my favorite actors who I know are busy, and I've gotten a yes. And sometimes you do get the no. 1 no is equal to, 10 no's is equal to 1 yes. And, never being afraid to reach out, because reaching out doesn't kill you. And when I reached out and I got to see how from 1 email, I just made a contact, and it's a contact of someone who has inspired me, and they're a huge part of my life. Like I still keep in touch with Zach's mother, Laura, and I still keep in touch with Claire's mother, Melissa, and I speak to them very often. So it was from that 1 email that I said, hi, this is what I'm doing. Your son and daughter inspired me. Would you be able to take 15 minutes and join me? And they said yes. And just from that 1 yes, it's made such a huge difference in my life. So I would always say to those who are trying to start something like this is never be afraid to reach out and really follow your dreams, because the worst thing that you can get is a no.
You also said something about talking to your younger self from where you are now. What would you say to your older self from where you are now?
That's such a great question. And I always ask my guests, it's the last question on the show, I always say, looking back on everything you've achieved, what would you tell your younger self? And so now to tell my older self, I have to think about that because I love that question. I would really just say, never give up. My parents said to me at such a young age, and they still say it to me, and never giving up and really just enjoying life and doing the things that make you happy. Because I've had a lot of people come to me and say, you're doing such great things, but do you have the time to go out and be a kid and see your friends? And the answer is always yes. I love what I'm doing. And, when you love what you do, you never have to work a day in your life. And I'm so happy that I'm doing this. So to my older self, I would just say, never give up and chase those dreams because they can come true. Like I had a picture for when I talk about dreams coming true. Dear Evan Hansen has been a huge part of my life. And I saw it for the first time when a touring cast came to where I live in Toronto. I was 11. And then 3 years later, I got to see it on Broadway and I got to interview the Evan. I'm talking to people that I never thought I would ever talk to. And so just really chasing your dreams and doing what you love is the best advice you could give and that you can get.
That is so true. A couple of months ago, my doctor said, so when are you thinking of retiring? I'm like, never. She's like, you don't want to retire? I said, no. She's like, well, why would I retire? And she said, do the things you love. I'm like, I do the things I love. So yeah, you keep going. You keep going.
Always.
Any other questions? Carolina?
Here in Artivism, we usually close with a takeaway, but I saw you touch upon it on your presentation, right? Aspire to inspire. Would you have another one? Let's say an action point takeaway that you can leave us today with, so that we can go out and, you know, be that ripple effect or start our own initiatives. All of those inspiring kind of like ideas, putting them into practice.
Yeah, of course. Like I said, you know, the stories that are not really in the spotlight are the ones that inspire. So, you know, talking to your friends and just feeling the way that they inspire you. And also my aunt, who is here with us today, she has been a huge inspiration in my life, and she has been one of my biggest role models and mentors. And it is Madame Gandhi's words, but they have become my aunts in my life, if you will. And it's be the change you wish to see in the world. And it took me a really long time sometimes to dissect that quote and really see what it means. But when I have my family and my friends and my inspirations in front of me and getting to see what they do in the world and getting to see that the world is a dark place sometimes, and that really my goal is to inspire people and bring them a source of happiness. So to be the change that you wish to see in the world is really, truly the biggest thing.
And it's so lovely to see you partner up with Bake Back America and Melissa Subin, who is amazing. She was here on, presenting Bake Back when we first started. Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Allison. Any other questions or comments? Okay, Stephanie, do you want to close it up today?
Sure. Thank you so much. I think that we already announced next week's event.
Yep.
So 3:00 next Monday. You can go to, if you just Googled Artivism and Adelphi, you'll see all of the events that are coming up. I also wanted to thank Allison. This was so inspiring and so wonderful. And I see that there are a few students that came on the link today. And just FYI, today, I'm assuming it's not for you all, but
right.
For us, it was a holiday, a federal holiday. So there were no students on campus. So the fact that students came shows how much these sorts of programming really does, that on their day off, they decided to Zoom in. So thank you, students who came in, and thank you, Allison, for inspiring so many of us.
Keep inspiring.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. See you next week, hopefully.
See you next week. Bye,
Thank you,
Dad.
Mr. Cohen.
My pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Have a good night.
Have a good night, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Yes.